Hey everyone, welcome into the Flippin Hippos YouTube channel. I'm Star. If you're new here or you haven't yet, please consider subscribing and helping us feed a hungry hippo. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up. It really helps us out a lot. So today we're going to be talking about sob stories because we all love it when a buyer writes us a novel about how tragic their life is and why they need a stuffed animal for $2. And usually these stories come on items that are wants and not needs. So this is why I feel the way I do, which we're going to get into. But if you send a sob story on food or something that's a need, that's one thing. The sob stories I usually get, and the buyers trying to tug at my heartstrings and guilt trip me into selling items, are usually expensive, collectible video game plush or designer jeans that cost a lot. And so to me, they're wants. They're not needs, they're wants. And if there's something in life that you want, you shouldn't expect to get it at a discount for writing a fictional tale. And I'm going to tell you why I think they're fictional as well. I also believe and know this from experience that when you are strapped for money and you need clothes for your job or for your work, you don't go for the most expensive designer items. You know, I haven't always had money, and I've had young kids and struggled when 20 years ago, you know, my kids were little and I was working overtime and everything. I've been there. I'm not discounting the fact that there are folks out there who are struggling. And I would go to thrift stores, or I would go on eBay and look for Gap, American Eagle, or I'd go to thrift stores to buy my affordable clothing. But I didn't look for Louis Vuitton and tell them, hey, I'm an NA at a nursing home, and I work overtime, and I have 2 kids and 10 cats, and I need help. I didn't really have 10 cats, but you get my point. So I'm not heartless. I want to put that out there. I'm not heartless. I'm not out of touch. I have been poor. I've been struggling in my life at times. And I've worked very, very hard to be where I'm at, but that doesn't mean I don't remember. I'm still Jenny from the block. And I do have a heart and I do care about people, but I do it in a way that makes sense to me. When I want to care about people, I will donate to charities that mean something to me. I will help the homeless shelters, the domestic violence shelters. I will donate to the Children's Hospital or humane societies and help the animals. You can also volunteer your time at soup kitchens and things like that, especially around holidays. They need a lot of help. You can do all of that, and you don't even have to tell the world that you do it, or you can whatever. But there's ways to help folks, and there's ways to have a heart. And then there are people who are online targeting people to make you feel sorry for them so they can get an item cheaper because they feel entitled to it or because they're a scammer. I usually save this video until closer to Q4 because typically the sob stories and the give me this cheaper novels they write you are really rampant in Q4. You'll see a lot of it on toys that are very expensive. And then if you don't give in to the $2 offer on the $50 toy, you'll be told that you ruined a child's Christmas. It happens every year. But I'm actually seeing a lot more of these this summer. And I don't know if people are bored because it's summertime. I don't know if it's the economy doing whatever it's doing and folks just are, you know, paying more at the grocery store and paying more at the gas pumps. So they have less discretionary funds to spend. But I am seeing more and more sob stories now in the summer than I ever have before. It usually does not ramp up until Q4. So here's why I know most of them aren't true. There's actual groups that exist, Reddit, subreddits. There are accounts on Twitter and Instagram and groups in Facebook. There's even probably some YouTube channels that teach folks how to get items for cheaper on the selling platforms. And if you hadn't seen my Poshmark video I did on the Poshmark returns, I did briefly mention at the end of that. All of these groups also exist, how to teach buyers how to cheat the system and get returns and get free items and lie and do false sign ads. They do exist, I'm telling you. But they also exist to teach people how to ask for discounts and how to write the best story. And some of these groups actually have what are called copy pastas, which are stories that are written once and shared for all. Everyone can use it. So one person will sit down and write, Dear seller, I am unfortunately disabled. My husband has passed away in a fire. I have 5 foster children and 3 of my own, 10 one-eyed, 3-legged cats. I've recently been kicked out of my home and I lost my job. And I really, really want this dress for my daughter. Can you please give it to me for $2? And they'll put their story in the group or in the subreddit, and people will copy and paste that and send it to buyers on whatever item they're trying to get. And they can change dress to Beauty and the Beast VHS tape to Cabbage Patch Kid, whatever it is they're trying to get. Most of them will only change the item. Most of these buyers will just use the copy paste as is. Other than that, they won't change any other details. And so when you've been selling as long as I have and you sell in volume, sometimes you see the same message from several different buyers. It's so funny to me because they don't even change anything. So sometimes in Q4, like when I have plush or toys that are really sought after, I will get the same message from 5, 6 buyers on one item. And I'm like, oh, there's a copy pasta. They must have gotten this from a Facebook group and they're all using it. So that is one reason how I know it's not real. But I would wager 90% of the ones that are even coming up with their story on their own, they're not true. And the 10% that are true, they're just using that to their advantage to try to get a discount. So they're exploiting either their own illness or their family's misfortunes or their children's illnesses, and they're exploiting them to get a discount. And I think that's just gross. But it is even grosser for the 90% that are either making it up or copying these stories. They're not true. Here's the thing. If someone's really struggling and really needs help, I don't think they're shopping on eBay. I think they're probably going to go in their community to the food bank or to the thrift store. Do you see what I'm saying? I don't want to come off as heartless or a bitch, but I don't believe these stories. I don't think these people are actually shopping on eBay. I think they either just really want a discount or they really want something that's outside of their means, so they're going to try to guilt trip you into it. There are those kinds of people too. As it gets closer to Christmas, they really, really want a toy that's out of their budget for their kid, and they'll try to guilt trip you. Recently, I've gotten not exactly the same, but 3 very similar messages on 3 different plushes. And so it's already happening this year. It's happening earlier. 2 of the messages were from a doctor with a PhD who teaches special ed. One was a high school, one was a middle school, so they had the wherewithal to change that. They also changed the name at the end. But the rest of it was basically the same. Just a novel about how stuffed animals can help in the classroom, and it can help students feel more secure. And hopefully I'll see it in my heart to care about people. I'm like, do not guilt trip me. Like, really? So those were very similar. And then I got a third one from a student who was in a special ed class, and her PhD teacher told her that stuffed animals can help, and they are all offering $2, and they're very similar. And then they all follow up at the end with some kind of guilt trip of, if you care about the community, if you have in your heart to care about the special needs kids, and I do, and I donate elsewhere, but that's neither here nor there. So how do you handle sob stories? Well, one, just take the emotion out of it. Just ignore them. If it's hard for you to read them and not feel guilt, or read them and not feel obligated to help in some way, then just don't read them at all. And that's okay. Every human has a different level of empathy and sympathy inside of them. Every human has a different ability to turn that switch off as well. When it comes to business and me getting similar messages that I can tell are fake, it's very simple for me to turn that switch off. I do have a lot of empathy, but I have that ability to turn that switch off, especially for business, and just keep the emotion out. I'm not saying you're wrong if you can't. There are some folks out there that don't have the ability to turn that switch or just can't not have the guilt trip or feel the empathy. And that could be for any number of reasons. You know, so I don't think it's necessarily bad to be so human that they affect you. I'm telling you, you should not let them affect you. So don't read them if they will. If you're someone like me that can read it and just read it, that's fine. But I tell folks to treat it as if there is no story. So ignore the story. There's no story. Ignore that and only look at the offer. Treat the offer as you would any other offer, just ignoring the story. So take the story out of the equation. There's no story. They didn't tell you anything. Is this an offer that you would normally take? Or would you counter it? Would you entertain it? And then decide from there. So you take out the story and counter the offer or accept the offer, not based on the story, but only based on the monetary value of the offer and what you would normally do if that offer came in with no message. Allegedly, eBay does throttle sellers if you're not responding to messages. Like if you have a bunch of messages from buyers and you're not answering them, allegedly you can be throttled for that. I don't know the truth in it. I just know that's what everyone says. Every seller has said that to me at one time or another. So it is better to respond to your buyers and have that good response metric. So you can write a cookie cutter response that just says, hey, thanks for your interest in this item. We can't go that low. Please see our counter offer, and then send the counter offer and just copy paste. You still don't have to read their story. You still don't have to know what they told you or what they guilt tripped you into, but you can just copy paste that message, save it on your phone, save it on your computer, scroll to the bottom, reply, send the message, send your counter offer. That's all you have to do. I would never engage with buyers on this level or respond to their stories or give them any inclination that I've read their story. I would never engage that. For me, that's just opening a door, and I don't really want to open that door. So if I do respond to them at all, thanks for your interest in this item. Here's my counter offer. That's it. I don't want to hear more of their story. I don't want to encourage them to tell me more. I don't want them to think I read it. I don't want them to think that they're successful, because if this is one of the people that is perpetrating this problem of folks sharing stories and encouraging other buyers to do these things, I don't want to help them at all in any way. So don't engage it. If you respond to them, professional, cookie cutter, make it sound like your response to them is a response that you give to 1,000 people every day. They're not special or important, and their story had no effect on you. Once you handle this professionally within your business and you deal with the offer, then you can share it with your friends and have a laugh if you need to. A lot of times I'll read these messages to Keith or to the folks that go to my listing parties for List Perfectly, just because they can get really ridiculous. When I was earlier using the example of the 10 cats and the 5 foster kids and the 5, these can get really ridiculous. They will go on, and it sounds like a movie. It sounds like a soap opera. Like, what else can happen to this family? You should really be a writer. Maybe you should write books. So yeah, you can have a laugh at it and share it with your friends. Just don't let the buyer know. Like, don't engage with them. But, you can even share it on Instagram or TikTok if you want. I would suggest blocking the buyer's names, though. Let me make that very clear. I would never shame any of these buyers or show their name anywhere or call them out specifically, because at the end of the day, we honestly don't know if their story is really true or if they made it up or somebody else wrote it and they're all sharing it. It could be a true story. But either way, we really don't have the right to share their name publicly, especially if you have a bigger platform or a lot of subscribers or followers. So let me make that very clear. Do not share their name. Block it out somehow. When you share the messages with your friends, don't share the name. But you can have a laugh. I mean, seriously, there are some people out there who are like telling you they have 20 kids and 25 cats who all have one eye and 3 legs. and foster dogs, and there was a fire and a tornado and a hurricane and an earthquake, and they're on their 5th time being widowed, and a train crashed into their car, and they lost their job, and now they're taking care of their parents, and they all have COVID. So it can be pretty funny, but I would never put any buyers on blast publicly. Personally, I don't think that's morally right, and you're also asking for trouble. If they see it, they can, there might be legal ramifications or something, so keep their names out of it. But yeah, that's just my advice. Just ignore the story, act like it's not there, and treat the offer as just like an offer, any other offer that comes in that doesn't have that story or that message attached. Would you entertain it? Would you counter it? Would you take it? And if you want to respond to them, just keep it simple. Thanks for your interest. Here's my counter item, my counter offer, not my counter item, my counter offer, and go from there. But I think it's very important also for me to let you know again, let me reiterate this, let me repeat it. It bears repeating. There are groups out there on the various social media sites of buyers who are dishonest and who are teaching each other how to falsify returns, try to get free items, try to claim damage, and how to do these stories to hopefully guilt trip people into getting cheaper items. It does exist. Most buyers are great people. Most buyers are honest people. But there are bad ones out there, and there are entire groups of them who teach each other how to do these things. So it's best if we know that and don't allow ourselves to let these stories affect us or allow us to take offers lower than we normally would. And, on this other side of that coin, returns. There's groups that teach each other how to falsify returns. So don't fall into that trap either. Return or no refund. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns about anything you saw in this video today, let me know down in the comments. And don't forget to join our Facebook group, Flippin' Hippos Reseller Pod. Go be productive, avoid some stories, and make some money. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.